In this week's episode of Working with Todoist, I'm going to show you how you can correct a mistake I see many people making. Hello and welcome to another episode of Working with Todoist. My name is Carl Pauline, and in this week's episode I'm going to show you how to make your lists much more manageable so that you can avoid the problems that we all face from time to time, and that is being overwhelmed by the number of tasks we have on our lists. Now, the problem here is simply that we are putting way too many unnecessary tasks into our to-do list manager, basically into Todoist. What we're doing is we're adding tasks that don't really need to be there because you already have what I would describe as a natural trigger to do the right work. So this all sounds a little bit vague and a little bit uncertain, so I'm going to take us straight into Todoist and show you exactly what I mean. But before I do that, I would just like to say, if you like this episode, please click on that like button below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would be most grateful if you would subscribe to my channel. Okay, let's get straight into Todoist this week, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so what I've done to create this example is in my demo account, I have created a new project called New Employee Handbook. And to save a lot of time, I've written out a lot of the tasks that I actually see quite commonly on projects like this. And I've got things like talk to Michelle about what should be included, ask Michelle for a copy of old handbook. Those tasks actually I would keep in my to-do list manager. The next task, though, is write 250 words of introduction. I wouldn't actually put that into my task list manager, and I'll explain about that in a moment. And then we've got another one, create management structure chart, which may be a task, but then I've got subtasks, and I see this quite often: choose colors for chart, decide what lines to use, etc. And then we've got further down here, we've got write staff rules list, write page on vacations, write page on benefits, write page about parking permits. Now, the truth is, I know where this has come from. This has come from the Getting Things Done book, because in that, David Allen gives an example of why making an appointment with the doctor would be a project, simply because he explains when you break it down, you've got to find the telephone number for the doctor, then you've got to call the doctor, and then you've got to make the appointment with the doctor. But that was actually giving a very, very simple example. But I think what's happened is people now think that all your tasks have to be broken down into such finite detail. And the truth is they don't. I mean, when I need to make an appointment to see the doctor, or when I need to make an appointment to see the dentist, all I do is create a task which says make appointment to see dentist. I know that that's a telephone call. I know that that is actually just 2-minute job. I don't need to break it down like look for my dentist telephone number and so on and so forth. David Allen, when he wrote it in the book, he was giving it as an example to show you how you would develop a more complex project, but he was starting with something quite simple. Unfortunately, I think that's led to a lot of misunderstandings about how you should be using your to-do list manager. So what I've done is I've created a little bit more complex than actually making an appointment to see your doctor. What I've done is I've created this kind of project. And what you've got here is I've got write staff rules, write page on vacations, write page on benefits. Now, to me, these are just tasks that do not need to be in your task list manager. What you actually need is one simple task, and that would be written write. I would actually use the word continue because that's the word I tend to use. Continues writing employee handbook, or you could actually just say new employee handbook. That's what I would create. Now, what I would do is, let's say I've got a week to complete this, so I would type in every day until the 8th of July, which is a Friday, and that's now going to come up for today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put that up at the top of my list. There we go. We'll put it right there. And notice how I do that. I just grab the grab handle Now, that's not enough for me because it's not got a context, and I would actually add a context of writing. This is my demo account, but I'm going to say Office because I think we've got Office, so I'm going to put Office in there. I'm also going to need my computer to do that, so I'm going to add my computer label, so that's in. So now I've got the two labels that I need to do that task, but there is one more thing. These things do need doing, but what I would do is I would create a note in my note application. Now, for those of you who followed my channel for a while, you know I use Evernote. So here's one I prepared earlier. I always like saying that. So I'm going to pull this one up into a full screen, and you can see this now. So what I've done is all my projects would be set up essentially in this way. So I have the title of the project, which is New Employee Handbook. I have the purpose of the project, because sometimes if I'm not in the mood or whatever, I need to have a reason for doing the project. I also like to keep things to organize and things to decide, because I don't want those in my to-do list manager. When I'm working on the actual handbook, all I need open is my Evernote note and the application I'm using to create the actual workbook. So in here I've got things to organize and things to decide. Now, yes, I've got these as check boxes, but I don't treat them as tasks. It's just that when I've done those things, I will then check them off. I also use the highlighting functionality in Evernote, but I'm going to cover that in a couple of days' time when I do the Evernote video for this. And then what I do is notes. But the thing I really want to show you in here, this is where I actually add the notes that I need to keep together. So what's happening is when I link the Todoist and Evernote together and they work seamless together, I can work from my Evernote, which I would have open every day, and I can add notes as I'm working, thinking, oh yeah, I need to make a decision on that. Okay, things to decide, bang, I can add the decision. I can do all sorts of things and just add notes as I'm doing the work and as they come to me. This way my to-do list manager stays clean. Now, I'm going to cover this much more detail in the actual Evernote video, which I will do in a couple of days. But the one thing I wanted to show you here is what I would then do for the Todoist part is I would create a link. So I'm going to do Control and then click. And I'm going to go down to, where are we? Copy note link. I'm going to hit the Option key, which gives me copy classic note link. Now, guys, I know for those of you using Windows, this doesn't work the same way, and I've forgotten how it works in Windows, but you can check that out on the system. Then I go back into my Todoist, and I go to my top one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to go... I shouldn't have done that. We won't paste it in first. Let's just get rid of the... okay, I can do it this way. Let's just... Yes. Okay, we're going to start that one again. So I'm just going to delete this for a minute. Let's just delete that. I would put this in. The way to do this, by the way, actually, is to put your continue writing employee handbook in brackets first. And what I do is just put the cursor key and then just drag back. Oops. Put the cursor key and then hit paste. And then when I hit save, you will see now I have a clickable link, which is going to take me, when I click it, directly to the Evernote note. So I'm going to click that. Do you want to? Yes. It's a new thing in Windows. And that opens up the note directly where I want it to open. It's going to give me exactly what I want to see when I need to see it. And then maybe if I wanted to, I could actually put a link to the Google Docs that I'm using. And remember, with Evernote now, we have Google Drive. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to use. We have Google Drive file attachment, so you can actually link directly to a file in Google Drive from your Evernote note. But I'm going to cover that in a little bit more detail when I do the Evernote video. So that's essentially how I do it. So a lot of these things wouldn't need to be in. I can delete that one, I can delete that one. All these can be deleted because I don't need them. The only tasks I do need is talk to Michelle about what should be included and ask Michelle for a copy of old handbook. And as you see, as I deleted that, I got rid of pretty much 10 tasks that would have been showing up in my daily list. Now I've got it down to 2 tasks because I can just switch to Evernote and get straight into the work, and anything that I need to add can be added into that simple note. Okay, I know it's been a bit of a long episode this week, but I hope you get the idea, and the concept behind this is that your to-do list manager, as in this case Todoist, needs to be the trigger for doing the work. The more time you spend looking at long lists of things that you need to be doing, what's going to happen is you're going to spend too much time in your to-do list manager in Todoist and not enough time doing the work. This system or this method gets you doing the work. And I know that you're going to say, well, aren't I just going to spend just as much time in Evernote? Well, maybe you are, but what's happening is you are now much more closer to actually doing the work instead of trying to make decisions about what work you're going to work on. I've got the trigger, continue writing employee handbook. I will have I would do the draft in Google Docs, which means I've actually got a link directly from my Evernote to Google Docs, which I'm going to show you in the next episode of Working with Evernote. Okay, thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope it's given you some ideas of how you can reduce the lists that you're having to look at on a daily basis. And it just remains for me now to wish you all a very, very productive week.